Hey guys, Christine here. I hope you are having a good week. I'm having a much better week than I did last week with a lot more sleep, which is great, except I did get woken up by a bunch of sirens last night. There was like a police chase nearby. Yeah. But I was like dreaming about it, and then all of a sudden it was real, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. Then I realized what it was. So yeah, I'm awake. I don't even know how I got onto that topic. Anyway, let's talk about what I want to talk about with you today, and that is how to help your toddler if they get carsick, because I have dealt with this. My firstborn is pretty much grown out of it now. He's 4.5, closing in on 5. But from, I want to say like 18 months, maybe a little bit earlier than that, he started to get carsick. And we travel a lot. And in New Zealand, our roads are very, very windy. There's just no avoiding it. It's just a thing. And it's really challenging to deal with a toddler who throws up. And he used to just cry and cry and cry, and then just, it would be everywhere. And it was every trip. And I was getting so stressed out. I just didn't know what to do. And like, how do you help a toddler? You know, like, they're not old enough yet to hold a bowl and know to, like, puke in it. As they do get older. I think he was, like, when he was 3, we had taught him to, like, puke into something. But thankfully, we got on top of it before too long. So I'm going to share with you some of the things we did, some of the tips that I have, and then I'll let you know what we ultimately did to fix it. My number 1 tip is to be aware of what they eat before you travel. So things like dairy products and stuff can make tummies feel a little more sick. So maybe try and stick to some more bland food before they get in a car and travel. And the other thing is to just take note of when they eat. I think it's good to have something in the stomach, because having an empty stomach can make you feel sick too, but not too much, and maybe not right before. So give the tummy a little bit of time to digest before you get in the car with them. And number 2 is to be aware of the temperature in the vehicle. Having it too hot can definitely make them feel sick. Sometimes I would just like drop the window down and let that cold air blast in for a little while to help him. I'm going to say most of the time, I don't know if it really helped a lot, but just be aware of the temperature. I know for sure if it was too hot, it made it like far worse. So just be aware of how warm you're keeping it. The rest of us would like freeze with the aircon on sometimes, but that did help. The next tip is to try using essential oils, and actually a friend of mine gave me like a sample of peppermint essential oil, because it is apparently supposed to help with nausea. And that actually makes sense, because I think I had like peppermint tea when I was pregnant to help with morning sickness. So yeah, that makes sense. The other thing is aromatherapy, I know for sure works in certain ways. You know, like we've got such strong links between like smells and memories and smells and like turning our stomach and stuff like that. So if you can find an essential oil, like try peppermint essential oil. I think we just put it on like a little cotton pad and then shoved it in the air conditioning vent. And that is what we tried to help. I know I ended up using it for myself, I think, when I was pregnant and we were traveling. Not because I got carsick, but just because I had morning sickness. But that's something to try with your child. The next thing is to try and explore medication options. There are a lot of like natural remedies. I've got to be honest, I'm a huge skeptic. I do think that there are some things that work, but I think that there are a lot of things that are just placebo, and you pay an arm and a leg for placebo. And placebo doesn't really work for a toddler, you know, like it's not like us when we know we're putting something on us and it's going to make us better, you know. So I ended up going to the doctor and talking to the doctor about what I could do, and she recommended using a medication called Phenergan, which is used for several things. It can be an anti-nausea med. It can also be used for like congestion if you're heavily congested, and it also can make you go to sleep. It could knock you out. So for that reason, it's a prescription-only medication, because in little ones, it could be potentially dangerous if you like give them too much. So we started Jack on that, and so I could recommend that you go and see your doctor, because there'll be different medications depending on what country you're in. But we went and saw the doctor, and she gave this to our son, and we started him out with, I think it was like 5 mils. He would have been 2 at the time, 5 mils, and it knocked him out. Like, he fell asleep in the car. He didn't puke, which was brilliant, but he was like a zombie for the rest of the day, and it was awful because whenever we were traveling somewhere, like, we wanted him to be awake and enjoying it, and he was just so tired and grumpy, and he didn't want to talk to anyone. And so what I started doing was just reducing the dose. I think I just did like a mil every couple weeks or something, until we got to a point where he wasn't throwing up, but he was like awake and alert and enjoying himself. And so I think he's had like 2 or 2.5 mils, and it is enough to stop him from puking, but not enough to make him drowsy. And we've been doing that for like 2.5 years now, and it works 100% of the time. He has never ever thrown up when we give him that medication. He has, however, thrown up when we have forgotten to give him that medication, so I know it still works. I do think that he's pretty much growing out of it now, but there are still times where he definitely needs it. So if you have tried everything else and you were just like pulling your hair out, it is something I would recommend doing, and then just tweaking it to see if you can get to the point where it works really well for your child. And then the last thing is to turn your child around. So if they're rear face, you can flip them. But I'm saying this with like a major disclaimer. You need to follow the laws of your state and your country or whatever, but also what is recommended. So like, it is a pro and cons thing. If you've got a kid that throws up profusely every single time you are in the car, then I can 100% understand why you want to try and turn them around to see if that will help with the car sickness. However, if your child is just too young for that, then you kind of have to suck it up. If they are old enough to turn them around and it's a pros and cons thing, then it's something you could try, and if it makes a big difference, then you might be alright with it. Okay, and I had to empty my card, which means I've been talking for far too long. Let me summarize it by saying that for us, with our son, we tried everything, and at the end of the day, medication worked really well for him. I'm not a huge advocate for sticking kids on meds unless it's absolutely necessary, but he was miserable, and it was terrible as a parent. Not just like the inconvenience of having to wash his car seat and his clothes and clean him up, but actually just hearing him cry and be so uncomfortable for long periods of time was just not fun. So medication worked well for us. It is really hard dealing with the toddler with car sickness, so I wish you all the best, and I hope you found these tips helpful. I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.